What is up, y'all? So we are going to watch an episode of Kicking It with the Walsh sisters. Now, I obviously, they are who they say they are. Um, I don't really know much about. Let's start back. I've said before on other episodes that, and even on my Instagram, that I don't really keep up with the outside of the technique space in swimming. Like this stuff I do because I have to do to grow my business. And it's not that it's not fun, but I'd rather look at technique all day and help people swim faster. So I have no idea what they're going to be talking about. It just says Kicking It with the Wall Sisters, episode 1. This was from 5 months ago, so that would be what, May? So before World Champs, I really know nothing about them other than they're fast. What else? I don't even know what they sound like, really. Jeez. So yeah, we're just gonna see what they got popping on. You know, one thing that's funny. This is why I wanted to watch this. I didn't want to say this. So I grew up, and I said this in my Thursday episode when I was talking about the problems with swimming and why we're just a bunch of nothings who don't or oblivious nothings who don't understand what's going on. And the closeness to like culture, right? And then when I said that, it's blackness is what it is, really. Like, let's just be real. And people, I think people would be like, oh, that's some DEI shit. Like, look, I am not pro that at all, so whatever. But I think something that's interesting about it is there's like so much appropriation that goes on where something is ghetto and then all of a sudden it's called urban fashion, but it was called ghetto and hood and thuggish before, frowned upon. But when the moment that it gets appropriated, urban, so it's garbage. Like it is what it is. You need to be in proximity to blackness if you want to push the needle and move the money. And the reason why I wanted to watch this video is, obviously I'm black, but I grew up in a public school system where there was like a lot of Mexicans, a lot of black people, and then white people, white majority, or maybe Mexican majority, maybe. But you have to learn to move in those situations because the black and Latino culture is very like cracking jokes, right? Very jokerish. They're willing to handle justice face to face instead of appealing to an authority, like principals or teachers or whatever. So you end up like developing as an individual to defend yourself and develop humor because you can't just pop off on somebody because they made a funny your mama joke, right? You gotta be able to take a joke and dish it back out. And so the girls that I grew up around grew up in that type of environment. And what I realized getting to college and the amount of swimming I've kept up with, we're going to call these public school girls, is like the girls that I grew up with, like that's when I hear public school, like you hear inner city schools where obviously they just mean black schools, but like an inner city school, like a public school, like that's what I think of, like where you have to interact with black people, Latino people, and kind of they're more like grit culture, and it rubs off on white people and white girls and Latina girls and whatever, right? And I realized that like the girls that I grew up with swimming with were not like what I was seeing in college, or not like what I see people talking about the national team. Like I can say without a doubt that the girls that I grew up with would throw a punch, like 1,000% positive. And it's not like they were hood or nothing, but it's just you. If it goes there, it goes there. Like, we ain't going to call the police. We ain't going to call the principal. Like, if you want to take it there, we can take it there. So, when I see, like, I love chick politics. Who doesn't? The backroom dealing, the backstabbing, who doesn't love it? And I've always wondered, like they, to me, seem like the classic, like, all-American girl, right? I don't know if they're from the Midwest or not, but, I always wonder, like, what do these girls be talking about? Because it's, like, so different from what I grew up with, right? And as far as swimming, where we're already weird to begin with. So it's just like, I don't know. So this was kind of just like, you get to see a peek behind the curtain and see what's going on. So that's why I want to watch this video. See if they cut loose and because it's all, it's always funny. Like you hear about rap concerts and stuff. Those things never sell out because of black people going to them, right? So we'll see what's our culture we got going on here. Let's get it.
Make each other the best version of ourselves. Like, we're better as a pair. We always knew that. I think I like that mindset for us going forward.
What's up, Wahoo Nation? I'm Nick Sanker, here with Cat Futures, and today we have two special guests, Gretchen and Alex Walsh. Super excited to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us on, Nick.
Yeah, thanks. We're excited to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, being siblings and having grown up, first of all, you guys have, obviously, your parents knocked it out of the park genetically because they had I thought my family was athletic, and you guys just completely proved that wrong. What was it like? I grew up with Jonas, who also went to UVA and is going to NFL. I played football at Princeton. Our family's big football family. You guys, was swim like everything in your lives? Like, what was it like growing up?
So our mom swam growing up. She actually swam for Boston College, and I think she was pretty good at it, but we were beating her times by the time we were like 12 years old.
That's
and we
insane.
talk about that a lot in our family. But my dad was not a swimmer, but he was athletic, like you were saying, played a bunch of different sports. And I think both of our parents didn't want us to feel obligated to swim, but just to know how to do it. So they put us into swim lessons very early on, threw us in the water early on, and we took to it really, really naturally, to the point where we tried out summer.
So I took when I was 14, I was faster than the Boston College kids. So this would have been like 2005. We took like a trip and just toured like MIT, Boston U. But funny, I don't know if they still do this, but Boston College does not offer scholarships.
Big swimming.
Oh, I also remember them talking about Colin Jones, because I was like, when he was like, they're like, dude, this just black guy swimming so fast. And like, Colin still has like our pool record. Like, I remember them talking about that.
A really fun way to be involved in the sport. It was more just chill, like hang out with your friends, and from there it definitely progressed to a more competitive side of ourselves, and things kind of took off after, I would say, later elementary years and beyond.
Yeah, swimming's definitely been a really big part of our family dynamic. I think something that I find really cool is actually our great-great-grandmother was recruited to be, I don't know if in the Olympics or trained to be in the Olympics. It was one of those, but she was really good at swimming, and she had this offer, but unfortunately just financially couldn't afford to be doing a sport. This is a really long time ago. So it was really cool for us to have made Paris this past summer together. It kind of felt like, I don't know, it just felt very full circle, having both of us there and knowing that part of our family history is tied. Age now, like upper, like young 20s, mid 20s, so like 10 years older than her.
I really wanted to get a photo with the oldest swimmer at the meet, and I'm pretty sure at the time it was Anthony Irvin or Nathan Adrian, and they were like
college ball. I think, funny enough, my mom is like pretty anti-sports. Like, she's like, the whole time I was at Princeton, she's like, you're smart, like you don't need to play football. Especially when I went back for my 5th year, the COVID year. She was like, you could be done, like your bio will feel better, but it's just like, it gives you that security that you can just go out and enjoy the game. Because, I mean, as athletes, that's a lot of pressure to go out, compete. With football, you're watching, everything's filmed, and so you always have that pressure. What was it like for you guys kind of growing up? I mean, you had your parents' support. Did you feel any of that?
As you can see, I'm currently engaged.
So how did you kind of deal with it?
I would say, honestly, most of the pressure I've ever felt has been from myself. And I do agree with you. Enjoying a sport is the key to doing well. So I've really tried to give myself grace as I've gone older and realized that failure is inevitable at some points. Honestly has taken a lot of mental training and just changing my perspective on things and learning to find the, you know, right things to focus on, especially in those super pressure cooker moments.
Yeah, I think.
So I guess they're just asking a bunch of questions about sport, which I guess is expected, but maybe I'm just watching the wrong episodes. I don't know if I can do 4, but I don't know. I wouldn't be asking them this stuff. Like, they're great athletes. Maybe, you get the family background, but that shouldn't take that much time. Homie needs to do a little better leadership guiding the show. I mean, I'm skipping through it, right? So, and I'm, like I said, I'm here for it. I don't know. It's not entertaining. And I'm sure they've got funny stories and all that good stuff. So, I don't know. This is the kind of the reason I'll be talking about, like, it don't sell.
For both of us, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think that learning how to deal with pressure has been something that's been more relevant for us in the past 5 years. I think when we were younger, swimming definitely came very natural to us and we excelled easily. And when you're young, you can just jump in and swim the best time, like every week.
All right, I mean, I'm gonna give them some grace. They're young. I forgot about this, but all right. So somebody tell the Walsh sisters to tune in to Captain Dax. Ladies, y'all gotta be better storytellers. Like, you're just explaining the process to us, and this is why nobody can get their money. Tell Kate she can come watch this too. Like, you should have a story. Like, oh yeah, like dealing with pressure. Like, there was this one time. Like, that's how people relate to you, and that's how if this was a major sport, like, oh wow, there's a product that I can sell that relates exactly to this. You get the endorsement, bada bing, bada boom. You got the dollar bills coming in. What did Randy Moss say? I can't even remember what he said. Oh, it's a great quote about money. Cash money? I don't know what he said. I'll find it later. But yeah, ladies, like, y'all gotta tell more stories. We need stories, not just like you're dealing with pressure. Stories. And this is goes for the swimming world in general. Stories. And not just swim stories where swimmers can relate to them. I need stories that, like, me as a hooper, I can relate to. Right? And the host, he's trying to relate to y'all, right? So you could say he's a football player, he counts. Like, his job is to relate to you. So, like, you ladies, and I keep saying ladies just because they're the ones I'm talking about, but in general, swimming at large, y'all have got to be more relatable, like, and entertaining. Like, tell us a story about how, like, dude, we talk about dealing with pressure, right? I got my first 200 free at NCAAs where I got second place. I got, when I knew I was going to win the U.S. Nationals, I think it might have been the U.S. Open, in 2011, and I got sick might have relapsed between prelims and finals. I remember walking across the diner, or from the diner to go back to my hotel, and I felt it hit. I was like, damn, there goes my meat. I ended up getting 8th place in the finals. Shout out to Peter Vanderkay. You got lucky, dog. I was about to light you up. Cigarettes. And then we got great parties. Like, I have an amazing freshman year party story about dealing with pressure and just seizing. It wasn't even about me. It was, well, a little bit, but it's some teammate, other freshman. Like, he stepped up to the plate. Like, you see that? What he did? It was like, that's how you deal with pressure. Like, that's a PTP primetime player. But we need stories, ladies. And like I said, they're on the screen, but it's swimming in general. Stories. Stuff that people can relate to. People can relate to partying. People can relate to falling flat in their face when they thought they were going to do something really well, right? That's what sells.
Today's a new best time. But as you get older, and especially transitioning into college swimming and the workload that it takes, you want it to be worth it. Like, when you're doing 20 hours a week, when you finally get to your end of season meet, like, you want it to pay off. That's like the satisfaction.
Yeah, like, there was this one time
You get from it. So I think, learning how to deal with that internally, like she said, it does take a lot of mental training, and that comes from, that's taken us years to be able to, and we still haven't fully mastered it, but it definitely is something that at least
like there was this one time in practice, right, where I remember Clay Youngquist, he decides he wants to have, two. I suck at training, by the way, because I didn't know how to pull, so it's all legs, and my legs were tore up from using the legs for every practice, which Eddie's practice is you swim up or train up. So this would be a relation to the swimmers, right? But I could hit you with a hoopering one for everybody else. He decides he just wants to go sub 150 the whole practice, 146 to be exact, 47, 46. This is yards. And we're doing like repeat 200s on 110. I totally forgot what the purpose of this story was. Oh yeah, mental toughness, right? And the whole point of it, what he's doing is at UT, the goal is to train in your what you're going to experience, and you basically over prepare your body to deal with that, right? So if I'm doing 10 200s, I'm going to go super hard on the first one, so my body is stressed for the rest of them. And now what I'm utilizing to go fast is focusing on my streamlines, my technique, my flip turns, connecting it the right way, making sure things are timed up, and then I'm just managing my lactic, oxygen, energy relationship, right, through technique. And in doing that, my body will adapt, especially if you're in the right heart range, which takes us to the Goldilocks zone. Make sure you when it's available, make sure you check it out. It's going to be the magnum opus of coaching information. But anyway, we're developing fast swimmers. Talent maxing your swimmers. So Clay decides he's going to go out first one 148, right? And he gets down to 146s, and it's like 6 200s, 250s easy, and 2 100s, 50 easy, 4 times 2 or something like that, right? And Clay's he's beating my ass, right? And I can't keep up with him. I'm going 158s, and just right there, my body's stressed. I was 52s actually. I think my slowest one was 58 though. But the point I'm making is, that's how you deal with and prepare for this stress, right? If you get behind the block and or you're in your race and you're going to feel like this at this point in the race, you've handled that in practice, right? You're mentally tough. And in practice, the mental toughness isn't just, keep going, even though it is some of that. It's, what am I focused on to maintain this effort, right? I can't go any harder because I'm going to crash and burn. If I just use effort, it's got to be thinking about how I'm moving through the water. And that's the mental toughness, right? You have the answer. If you have the answer, you don't need to be mentally scared or weak or anything. You're tough because you're confident, you're going in there, you have the answers to the test. Why would you be shook or let anybody shake you or be unconfident, right? So that was a roundabout way to say a story, but usually you should have some stories loaded in the chamber so you can just pop them off when somebody asks you a question like this.
continuing to work on is just how can you still shine when the spotlight is on you?
Yeah,
it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and how do you push yourself? How do you set
no pressure, no diamonds
goals that are something that are actually realistic and kind of things you can control? Is there a way that you like to set goals for yourself, and how do you guys push each other? I mean, growing up, you guys obviously probably competed against each other. What was that like?
We did used to compete against each other more than we do now. And sometimes it would get a little bit.
This was a fantastic opportunity that's missed. She said they used to compete against. I'd be like, if it was my brother, I'd be like, yeah, he used to beat me all the time, but now I got him under my thumb. He ain't going nowhere. Ain't that right? And, you get the banter going back and forth. That's what you watch. You want to be entertained. Let me relate to you. I got a younger brother who, he never beat me, but achievements and awards wise was. You better believe when I got the upper hand, I took advantage of it. Relatability, stories.
And I remember when we were from Nashville, Tennessee, and when we swam on the same club team together, day in and day out, we were expected to be training partners, be pushing each other to hit our paces and everything. And I remember one time we came home to dinner and we had been in this big fight at practice because I was out fast and then Gretchen closed really fast, and I think she ended up beating me on like a couple reps or something, and
Yeah.
I was like, you're not doing the set right. And we brought the fight home to family dinner, and my parents were like, what is going on? Like, this is not allowed. It definitely kind of ruined the night. But now, like, I think we definitely have found an extra layer of like our sibling bond, just being able to relate to each other with, like we talked about, the pressure of having all these eyes on you, being role models, not only on our team, but also, you know, just for girls across the nation. College swimming has made us super relevant, and like we definitely have a lot of media, like we have an image, and so I think instead of being competitive with each other, it's more of like, how can we both make each other the best version of ourselves? Like, we're better as a pair. We always knew that. So yeah, I think I like that mindset for us going forward, you know.
That's awesome.
I also feel like, agree with everything Alex said. We are a sum that's greater than its parts.
That's
but
awesome. I like that phrase. It's something that's greater
me
than its
too.
parts.
Me too. I feel
That's
like
really
I've been
cool.
saying it a lot. But I also feel like we have always just been this built-in support system for each other when it kind of feels like no one else can relate. Especially back in high school, training all the time, always having to make sacrifices for swimming. We could lean on each other in those moments and be like, solidify that. He writes it down, and we kind of just store it in the back of our minds, subconscious memory, so that every day in practice we can kind of remind ourselves what we're working to. A team that is so successful here at UVA, because we all know each other's goals individually, and then we also have these huge team goals, and to work as a group towards that, I think is a really powerful thing.
I'm gonna say this maybe because it's not common. I'm over here just like, yeah, duh. But knowing, because we would have a goal meeting, right, every year, and it's so you can hold people accountable, right? Like kind of how they said about the fight, leaving early in practice. Like you get called out, you leave late because you're trying to hide, or you leave early because you're trying to hide, right? You're trying to make sure you don't have a fair fight with somebody next to you, to where if they beat you, they can talk shit to you, right? So, like when you see that, you can be like, yeah, that ain't gonna get, like, that's why you can't finish a 2-fly, Ricky, or something like that, right? Just like with Surhoff, right? When my senior year, when I started training IM, you know, he's only beating me by 5 seconds, and I'm not an NCAA champion IMer. Like, what's going on, dude? You know, but I know his goal, so I can kind of poke at that.
Because you're not alone, and swimming is such an individual sport in so many ways, and
it's not a team sport. It's a team. Eddie says it's an individual sport that's scored as a team. I think it's a team sport, 1,000%. I don't think it's an individual sport at all. We're not gonna really talk. Let's talk about it. Each person has an individual task that supports the team, right? So, like when you're in college, you have a cap on that's your team. Like, how can you say it's not a team sport, right? And when me and Clay are in the 2 free, like we know, like, okay, we need to score this many points in this event, or it's a flop because Cal scored this many points, right? And I think that's probably my difference, and why I look at it as a team sport is there's obviously individual aspects to it, especially sub-collegiate level. But at like when you start looking at events as team scores rather than, and this may be, actually, I'm saying this may be a privileged position where team scores matter to me, right? I'm not like Minnesota where we just have one swimmer in a 50 free final, right? You know, no offense to Minnesota, just making an example. But yeah, I think it's a team sport. And even then, like the guy from Minnesota doesn't swim that fast. Toomey, that's what I was thinking of, Derek Toomey. Shout out to Derek. He doesn't swim that fast without his environment. So, team sport. People need to stop saying it's an individual sport.
It's nice to know that the person next to you feels you, gets you, can relate to the pain, and also just the satisfaction of achieving what you've been working for all season or your whole life, really.
Yeah, we have a team tradition actually where at the beginning of the season, the first week, we'll all have brunch together in one of our apartments, and every single person on the team has to share a athletic goal, a academic goal, and also just like a
We're just such a chick thing to
goal,
do.
life goal. And even one of the captains will record it down and write it down, so that way we always can be aware of like what the person next to us is striving for.
So ours gets, I guess maybe somebody records it. I forget what it is, but it gets put on your locker, like your goals.
Like we've been doing that since my first year, and that's just always a great way to make sure like everyone's on the same page, everyone's holding each other accountable. It just goes a long way when like you can be there next to someone to help them achieve what they want to get done.
If you don't mind me asking, what were y'all's goals for this year?
Oh. Well, so my goals for this year have, after having a pretty historic NCAA's last year.
Your personal.
No, I'm starting with some swim goal. Pretty like historic NCAA's last
See,
year.
like more of that.
Coming off of the Olympics this summer. It was hard to like recalibrate and come back to NCAA's and be like, okay, let's get away from the international scene. Like, what do I want to accomplish for myself and my team in my last ever season for UVA? And I really wanted to just try to set records as low as I could so that they could stay for as long as possible. Kind of.
Shout out. Like I said, I don't know their names. I think this is Gretchen, right? I always say records are not meant to be broken. Like, you don't work this hard and get to this level to set a record so someone else can just wipe you from the history books. Records are not meant to be broken, okay? Or I'll take that back. Someone who sets a record for it not to be broken. You don't set it to be, like, to set a record. You set a record to be number one forever. Like, that's the goal when you set a record. Number one. That doesn't mean you're number one and then somebody else comes around and makes you number two. No. Number one only. At all times.
Make history last as long as I could.
Yeah.
So it's coming up soon, but I would like to try to go a 19 in my 50 free, first woman to ever go sub 20. And then I think I also said 46 in my 100 fly. And if I didn't, then I should have. So that'll be a big one too. And I'm feeling good about that. And then personally, I think last semester I was in a stress and anxiety management class, and I wanted to like take away.
Shout out. I had to do something like that for when I got my first relapse for ulcerative colitis. I had to take a stress management. It wasn't a class, but it was like it was a class, but it wasn't like a college class. And here's something y'all can know. It's the micro things, right? I'm actually going through this with somebody right now. I'm trying to help them work their way through stressors. The little things, you have to like learn how to let the little things go, right? Whether that means you have to take a little thing and make it into a big stressor to resolve it, to like remove future little things. It's like a cup. Okay, here we go. We're gonna use this. I love root beer. But imagine that it's like full to the brim, right? Now, if you ever did this in school where you add like water droplets to it, it'll bow up over it, right? So if you have a cup that's full of a big stressor and you add little stressors onto it, it's not really going to, it's not going to spill over, right? But if you have a bunch of little stressors and then you add on a big stressor, that joint is going everywhere, right? So it's not about the little, how do I say this? It's about making sure that you don't let your little stressors add up. Okay, it's not about big stressors that come in your life and avoiding them. It's about the little ones that seem like they're nothing. All right, that you just let simmer in your background. Like, you got to get rid of those, because once those stack up, because you got to think, if a big stress comes along, that's going to flip your cup a lot, right? What is going on here? Which way to turn my head? All right, if a big stressor comes along, it's going to spill that joint over because of all those little stressors you let save up, okay? Whereas if you have a big stress and then a little stress comes on, it ain't really going to mess you up, okay? Like, stress is a killer by 1,000 cuts, not a big Ginsu blade slice.
distance from that
Mm-hmm.
to help me balance my life.
Yeah.
And then also to enjoy my last year, soak up the moments, be present. And then academically, I think the goal was to not care so much, which sounds bad, but
Yeah.
as a fourth year,
I
I wanted
get
to
it.
just not focus on putting pressure on myself in school. I wanted
Just say it. You're an athlete student. Most of us are. It's fine.
to be more, like, give myself more grace in the classroom and realize that
Yeah, I know that's what she meant, the more grace comment, like not be so about your grades, but you know, if it happens, it happens. But let's just have fun with it, right?
yeah, at this point isn't going to change very much, so it's okay if things don't go my way.
Yeah, and I think that right there, like you're touching on the difference between like focus on the outcomes versus the process. Like you're gonna do the best that you can do regardless, and that's something I had to teach myself too. Going to like Princeton, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a tough school. Like there's people that are gonna have 4.0 at the craziest school in the world, and I'm just gonna do the best that I can do at the end
Yeah.
of the day. Like that's what you can focus on. That's what you can control, and then it takes.
New class of first years, that means you know, new races I get to watch and cheer for new people and kind of see what they're capable of after their first season at UVA. So yeah, I mean, I think especially now, just like we always knew that like being at UVA would be fleeting, so I've tried to savor every one of them.
And how much pre-planning goes into how you're jumping into the pool at the end? Is that like on the deck you
Yeah,
decide like
that's-
we're gonna go by class, we're gonna flip, we're gonna belly flop? Like what is that process like?
Definitely by class.
That's been a
Historically.
tradition. Yeah.
At ACCs at least, always by class. But the belly flop versus the front flip versus anything else, that's a very last minute decision. And then at NCs, we all just jump together, or we have.
Yeah, NCAA's I feel like is definitely a moment where we are no longer separated by our
Yeah.
classes. This has been a full team effort, and it's a great way to cap that off. But I love at ACCs how you kind of do get
Yo, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the UVA's men team have like a crazy long streak where they like never lost in ACCs or something? Check me if I'm wrong on that.
the different personalities of
The
the
men's
classes
team.
based on the way they jump in. But the belly flop of the fourth years was definitely a last minute decision. I had to be kind of convinced, but I think we actually nailed it, and the picture is insane.
Oh, I remember I was watching the stream and I was like, was the decision going into deciding to throw that race in there? Was there a little bit of it, like you said, setting personal goals, but like that you wanted to get that elusive 800 free that you didn't have yet?
Yeah, no, that has definitely been a big team goal of ours, to get that record, to complete the, I don't know how to say trifecta for fives,
Yeah.
but now we have all 5 NCAA relay records. And last year we did the same thing where we stacked our 800 free relay at ACCs, and we were 0.3 off of the NCAA. Me, it was about this 4-person relay that we didn't really even know who was going to be on it at the beginning of the season, but definitely went into that race knowing exactly what we wanted to do, knowing that we could do it if everyone just swam their heart out, left everything in the water. I can genuinely say I did.
And I did too, because I threw up after.
I did too. But yeah, that race was one that I'll never forget, because so much went into that from each of the members of that.
You talked of going into, because it was also an Olympic year, so you know NCAA's is short course.
So here's the thing I'm wondering, right, watching this. I'm done watching. Obviously they have an image, right? So that does affect some things with how much adjacent to urban culture they can get. But I wonder, right, because like I said, they have this like all-American white girl image. Does that sell? I mean, obviously Sydney Sweeney and her thing, so it definitely moves some numbers. But I guess, like, how do you sell that from swimming? That's what I'm trying to wonder. How would you sell that from swimming? I'm not a girl, so it's kind of difficult. There's got to be some type of like, All right, here's the answer. God, how do I say this? These are not necessarily my beliefs. I'm just saying how it would be done if you wanted this to be successful. This is what I would do, whether I agreed with it or not. The angle for them to, I would try to get paid. Like I said, their sum is greater than the parts. Their angle is this all-American white girl, whiteness. They got to lean into that heavy, right? Because they're not going to get the urban thing unless, you know, I haven't seen, I don't know them. I don't know them from a can of paint, right? Alex and Gretchen, right? I know who they are. I know what they swim, but like, even now it's like, I think like, I'm like 99% sure, whereas most people would be like, yeah, that's Alex, that's Gretchen, right? And I'm even right now, as I say Alex, I'm hoping I didn't just call her out of her name. Because I'm not sure 1,000%, but you got to lean into that all the way, at least based off this video that I've seen. Like I said, I haven't seen any of their work. First time I've heard either one of them talk. And maybe, you know, there's more to the personalities in the other 3 videos. I'm not sure if I was watched because this one didn't, you know, you got to hook somebody in that first episode, and this did not do it for me. But yeah, if I was trying to sell, they got to figure out how to lean into that sisterly dynamic duo, all-American white girls from Tennessee, I think is what they said. Like that's, they don't get no, like that's volunteer state. The only other country in the union that says y'all. Funny story about y'all. I remember I went to this diversity select camp, right, when they remade it in 2016. They're like not done it forever. So the re-inaugural class. And I remember there was like these 2 white girls, and one of them kept saying y'all. And I was like, what is she doing here? Like, she's white. But the second thing, I was like, what? She keeps saying y'all. Right. And I was like, I wouldn't know. And she's obviously, you have to be some level of fast to get into this camp. And I was like, I've never seen her at a meet ever. Right. Because she's saying you're also obviously Texas. And I'm like, I don't know who this girl is. I've never seen her at a meet. I've never seen her at a high school meet, a club meet. I've never seen her at a championship meet. Never seen her at a zones. I was like, I don't know who this girl is. But she keeps saying y'all like she's from Texas, but she's white at this thing. And then eventually, like, we had like one of the last days there, we said like where we're from, and she was like from Tennessee. Obviously, you know, she has to be Native American because she ain't black, right? She ain't Asian, she ain't Latina. So I was like, okay, so she has to be Native American, which is what she was. But then I was like, Tennessee. I was like, oh, and that's how I learned that Tennessee people say y'all a lot, like as frequent as Texans do. I think it's a Southern thing, but Texans in Tennessee apparently say it a lot. But yeah, like, kind of a funny story, you know. I'm sure there's other people who can relate to that. You know, maybe there's some like yeehaw hats. Somebody gave me some dollars. Like that's how that whole scheme works. So yeah, they got to lean into the whiteness of being the all-American sister duo, super successful Olympians from Tennessee. They need to figure out what that feeling makes people buy, and then connect to those brands. There it is, Randy Moss, straight cash, homie.